It's been months since we first got a glance at Sabo, and this week's chapter finally showed us, and this chapter got me so hyped right now. It got me so like, oh, last week's chapter and this week's chapter just keeps getting better and better. That One Piece that you gotta love. A lot of questions got answered within this chapter. One of the main ones is people predicting who the hell was going to get the Mera fruit. People were like, it's going to be Rebecca, it's going to be Bartolomeo, it's going to be this one, that one. And we finally got an answer. It is Sabo. He won the tournament, got the Mera fruit. Like, everything in this chapter, the pacing just went from, like, oh yeah, they're fighting, to like, okay, tournament over, I got the Mera fruit. I'm the boss, I'm Sabo, motherfucker. And that tribute, it felt so special seeing that tribute, the fire fist that he used in the chapter. I was just like, yes, like, in all honesty, even though I was gunning for like, yeah, Rebecca would be cool having that, maybe she could join the Straw Hats, this one could have it, at the end of the day, it felt, the way Oda did it was better than anything I could have predicted, because at the end of the day, not only did he give him the Mera fruit, he won the tournament, he looked like a badass boss, but also he even had that little tribute of using fire fist at the very end. It was just like, Oda did it like no other could do it. And I felt as though this chapter had a perfect balance of, first you have progression and epicness at the beginning, but then you have this hilarious, I'm sorry, this shit is hilarious. At this point, you can no longer be mad. Maybe I was angry in the very beginning with the whole Usopp shit, but at this point it's like, this is fucking hilarious. With Usopp now, they're worshipping him like a god. We've been waiting here, some of us 10 years, you liberated us, thank you so much. And Usopp is like, barely fucking conscious, like, just put me down, motherfuckers. I was just like, this is so goddamn funny. This is like legitimately good comedy, and at the same time it's still progressing things, and at the same time it's still kind of adding to Usopp's goal overall of having all these people that worship him, and, you know, being like, having 8,000 followers. All these people are probably going to end up being some of those 8,000 followers. You got dudes like Dogma and the Funk Brothers there looking like they've seen the light. Fucking Jesus Usopp there. It's like, this is too goddamn funny. And I like how, even though at first he's kind of like, yo, just put me down, or they're mistaking his words, like, oh yeah, we'll follow you, we'll follow your lead or whatever, and then he's kind of like, okay, well, if they're gonna listen to me, let me, like, that's one of the things about Usopp that is good, that he can use his smarts to, you know, outthink people or change the situation to his favor. And while they're all mistaken that, you know, he was just this brave warrior that came in and did everything, he's like, I'm gonna use that to my advantage. You know what? Destroy the factory and rescue my friends. And that's like, that's the best qualities of Usopp, when he could take a situation that is very vague or shady, and he's just like, I'm gonna use it to my benefit, and just fucking used everyone. It's just like, I don't give a fuck at this point. If anyone's still angry about Usopp, whatever, that's your loss. At the end of the day, this shit is funny. It makes sense to add to Usopp's character, and just overall, it's like, this is fucking great stuff. And then we go back and we get to see Sabo. It is indeed Sabo at this point. It's no longer like, oh, maybe it's Bon Clay or whatever. It is indeed Sabo. He has a scar right here. I'd imagine that's from the blast when he was attacked. Or it could have been something even further. Maybe that wasn't even anything that did anything to him. Dragon saved him at the right time. So we'll have to find out regarding that whole scar on his eye, if that was from that day when he was attacked, when he was a kid, or was it something later on or whatever. You could see that he worships, like, Dragon. Like, not worships, but, like, at the very least, he strongly admires. He's like, oh, yeah, we'll get this as a souvenir for him, these weapons, or the location of the weapons. So, definitely, you can see the admiration that they all have for him. And it's interesting that you got the setup that Hack was part of the Revolutionary Army. And I think it was already mentioned, but I just love seeing the three of them, Koala, Hack, and Sabo. And it's kind of like, first of all, Hack being a fisherman, you know, Koala's history with fishermen, so already seeing them two together, maybe he at some given point found her and helped her again, and helped to liberate her from humans. Maybe she befriended him, another fisherman she saw in life. But either way, it just really adds to a nice dynamic of, we know her history with fishermen, and how she was one of the only few humans that understood them and liked them, and was like, you know, what's wrong with you? Why do people hate you guys? And then you got Hack, that is a fisherman, so that kind of adds to the dynamics, and I wouldn't be surprised that's why they're working together. But then you also got Sabo, now he has the Mera fruit. It's like, Fire Fist Sabo. I fucking love this chapter. I don't give a fuck. It's like epicness, progression, hilarity, the shit with Usopp, fucking great. And it's just like, you finally got the end to the tournament, and it's just, it ended perfectly. It ended better than any of us could ever dream, because that's how Oda does things. Like, Sometimes it'll be slow, sometimes it'll be like, yeah, it's progressing, but once it gives you that payoff, you get the major payoff, and this chapter is one of those things where this is part of that major payoff that Oda always promises and delivers. And I'm curious to what extent are these weapons that were being, well, they originally thought were being created, but now they kind of assume that they were being transferred via here. I'd imagine it has nothing to do with the great weapons, you know, like Poseidon or anything like that. It's probably something really strong that they were looking for. So I'm curious as to how deeply embedded is the Revolutionary Army into knowing about these things, because if they knew there was some weapons being transported or they originally thought created here, it's like, why are they doing this? Like, you can see that the Revolutionary Army is kind of like a badass version of the government. Like, they don't give a fuck about all this shit, and at the end of the day, they're here to do what they feel is right. So I'm curious what they were looking for. Were they looking to get those weapons, to get them for themselves, or just completely stop the trade? Like, they're on some, we're gonna do it the right way. So I'm just curious as to what was their whole goal, and besides stopping them, was it anything further than that? And I'm really curious just how strong Kitos is. We need to find out exactly where he is, because last week's chapter beheads Doflamingo without Doflamingo having time to realize what the fuck happened. And then in this chapter, he's grabbing Buffalo and fucking him up. Like, at this point, Kitos is pretty, like, you know, it's not just, oh, yeah, he was hyped up, and then, like, yeah, he's just an average Joe. Like, this motherfucker is kicking ass, taking names, and is like, Kitos was hyped up, and he's not a letdown by far. Like, beheaded Doflamingo, beating the fuck out of Buffalo in this chapter is like, Kitos for the win. What's up with Law? Like, was it that he had some sort of plan set up, and that's why he's telling Luffy, like, if you rescue me, I'm gonna kill you, like he was trying to tell him, get out of there? I think a big part of it is this pride thing of, like, you know, he wants to stop Doflamingo his own way, and he had a plan possibly at this point. He cooked something up, and, like, Luffy's messing it up. But it was just weird how he just kept on telling him, yo, we're not an alliance anymore, get out of here. Or was it mainly that he was just trying to protect Luffy and them, and he's kind of like, yo, these are some very bad people, I need to get this guy out of here, he's a good person. So I'm curious as to why he was just going all ham on Luffy like that. At the end of the day, Luffy ain't gonna stop. Like, Luffy's like, yeah, just shut up, I'm trying to get these off. And he's like, get out of here, I'll kill you if I get loose. And he's like, quiet, I'm trying to do this. Like, again, more fucking funny shit, but at the same time progressing the plot. And we find out where the hell Pika went. So, like, Pika was some bitch-made shit, left Zoro there. Now probably Zoro's gonna be lost for all eternity in the alleys of Dressrosa. So he finally arrived over here, and he came and basically picked Doflamingo up. And Doflamingo, like, for the most part, I think, like, most of us realize, I mean, come on, Doflamingo ain't gonna be dead. It was too toned down. Like, something like that would be dramatized times 10. It would just be humongous. So I didn't really feel like that was a big impact as far as, like, yeah, he's totally dead last week's chapter. And then this week's chapter, we got confirmation, yeah, he's not dead, he's alive. But it also makes you wonder, because he didn't just immediately put his head back on his body. Is it completely that he can't do it, or it takes time to reattach it? So it's making you wonder right there, like, what's up? And he's also saying, like, I'm in a bad predicament, so I'm going to have to use Birdcage. Now, what the hell could Birdcage be? Could it be that he's going to lock all of everyone that's in Dressrosa in a cage? Is it a technique that he's going to use on everybody within this room that is just going to, like, have him turn into a bird and just start slashing everyone? Like, what the fuck is up with Birdcage? It was enough to make Law look worried, so Law knows what it is. And the thing is, like, it gotta be something that he didn't necessarily use on Law, if it's an attack, because then Law would probably be dead. So maybe it's some sort of, like, if it's called Birdcage, you know what a Birdcage is. It's to confine somebody. So the only thing I can think of is a perfect way to lock everyone in, or a perfect way to stop his enemies from being able to be on the offense. So it got to be something where either it's some sort of cuffs or something to stop them, and maybe possibly it turns them into a bird. Maybe from here on out, Doflamingo is no longer going to be a man. He's going to be just some fucking giant bird or some shit. And an epic ending to the chapter for a phenomenal chapter. This chapter, I just felt like it took everything that was great from last week's chapter, amplified it, gave an ending to the tournament, progressed things, finally got the who took the Mera fruit. It is indeed Sabo. And I like how also Sabo is still like, oh man, I'm having trouble, you know, trying to control this. This fire is crazy. So the power is overwhelming. It's just like everything in this chapter was beautifully done. Oda did it 10 times better than I could have imagined. And I gotta say, if this was a perfect chapter, I'm giving this one 10 out of 10. Oda did it again. And anybody that is hating on Usopp at this point, like, you have no sense of humor. This shit is fucking hilarious. I loved it. But tell me, what do you guys think? First of all, were you impressed on how it was done with Sabo getting the Mera fruit, him being the one that got it, the tribute with the fire fist? Also, what the hell do you think? It's Birdcage? Is it some sort of confining technique? Is he going to turn into a goddamn bird and soar the sky? What do you think is up with that? And how do you feel about Usopp basically becoming some fucking Jesus where everybody is worshiping him now? You even got dudes like Dogaba, the Funk Brothers there. Like, do you think that it's great? Do Do you think that it's going to be indeed his 8,000 followers, all the Tontada and all these people? And just overall thoughts of the chapter. I'm not going to lie, I felt like this chapter just had everything that I would possibly ever ask, want, and need in a One Piece chapter. It had a little bit of action, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It was just like, this was a perfect chapter, and I loved it. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up for that Sabo Firefish tribute. Finally seeing his face. Finally seeing everything. Is like, it finally all came together, and it was just phenomenal. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.